It's on a different spot. Okay, well, welcome everybody, and we are going to be taking a look at marketing, which is my absolute favorite topic of all time. And if everybody could just mute your mics, that would be absolutely great. And what I want to do is take a look at what is marketing. And I find that a lot of people, unfortunately, one of the hardest sessions for us to fill is actually marketing. You would think that, you know how to market a class and a lot of people are going to show up. But one of the challenges that I found is a lot of people think that marketing and advertising are the exact same thing. And I've had some people say, oh, that's an advertising class. I really don't need to go to that. I don't do any advertising, which is a tragedy, because if you're not advertising, really what you're doing is you're waiting for people to come in and see you. We're waiting for people to have a problem with their car, and then they drive in or they phone us and say, hey, I got a problem. Can you help me out? And they come in. But if we don't advertising, if we don't market, if we don't ask people to come in when we need them to come in, not just when they need to, then we're at the whim of the customer. And my experience is that's when things get super busy, when the weather changes, like in the winter when it gets super, super cold, and all of a sudden people realize the battery wasn't as great as they thought it was, or in the summertime their AC is not working, and so they come in and see us. But, I understand the correlation between cold weather and batteries, alternators and starters, and hot weather, I should say, and AC. But if we're really waiting for the weather to change to get busy, we're a farmer, not a repair shop. And so I believe that we need to advertise our business all the time, whether things are slow or they're busy. We need to continually advertise the business. So I want to take a look at what I call the marketing and promotions planner. And again, this is my 30th year doing this. And this is one of my absolute favorite things that I've worked on. And I'm not really sure why my screen just froze on me. What is marketing? A lot of people think it's advertising, and I'll start it off and say that I believe that advertising is only 15% of the entire marketing process. And we don't have a whole lot of time here. I promise to stick to a maximum of an hour and a half on this training. And we're going to be back next week, and you will be showing the plans that you've created. We do have some people that are at Christmas parties tonight, so not everybody could attend, but they've promised to listen to the recording and get their promotions and marketing planner done before next Wednesday. Your company name has a lot to do with marketing. Some people will be attracted to your business because of the name, some people not. One of the worst names I've ever heard for an automotive repair shop was Shade Tree Garage, just because it relates to, the shade tree and the guy fixing a car. Having said that, the guy who runs it, John, is brilliant, and he was the first shop ever that I ever saw that his labor rate was over $100 an hour, and that's going back at least 10 years. Another one was really bad was in Seattle, Washington. The company name was Cahoots Automotive. And when they told me that at the beginning of the class, she said, my name's so-and-so and I'm from Cahoots Automotive. I said, the name of the shop is Cahoots Automotive? And she said, yeah, that's our last name. And I thought, okay, great, but don't call your business Cahoots Automotive. And then, of course, one of my absolute favorites of all time is Jeff on the line here tonight, and he's got the old Vokes home. And I think that's extremely creative. But back to this, your company name, your logo, your slogan, your mission statement is all part of marketing. Your facility, what it looks like, the appearance, the professionalism, the cleanliness. For the longest time, when I first started, I thought the theme of a lot of repair shops was clutter, 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 and just so much stuff. And we just, we accumulate stuff and we don't really realize what it looks like. And it's really nice to see somebody who sees it for the first time, like from a customer's perspective, or in our management groups, we take photos of the shops on our on-site evaluations. And I will have people say, wow, I didn't realize it looked that cluttered. I didn't realize that there was that much stuff there. So anyway, your facility appearance, professionalism, cleanliness has a lot to do with marketing. The image of your staff, what they look like, both front and back. I think when we go to a shop as a customer, we should be able to tell that the person works there. Some people don't have uniforms for their staff. They're just wearing regular clothes. I'm sure we've all experienced going into a business and seeing somebody, not at the counter. They're in the store like a customer, and you're looking for the staff, and that person walks behind the counter and you think, oh, you worked here. I just couldn't tell because you didn't have a uniform on. And I personally think that a person's uniform on the front end should look a little different, maybe the same colors and everything, than from the back end. I find that sometimes the advisor on the counter actually is dressed up almost like a technician, and I don't think that's a great thing. I think some really nice crisp, clear uniforms is nice. One shop that I was in, I thought it was really neat, is that everybody wears the same color of uniform the exact same day. So on one day of the week, everybody's wearing a maroon colored logoed shirt. The next day, everybody's wearing blue. The next day, everybody's wearing green. And it just kind of looks nice when you walk in and go, wow, everybody's dressed the same way. The signage of your building, Jeff and I were chatting today. He sent me a picture of a beautiful sign that he's got. And Phil, you sent me a picture of your new sign. It looks great. What I find interesting is when you paint your building or put up a new sign and people come in and go, oh, wow, how long you been here? About 32 years. But your signage from the street, the building, the interior and the exterior is all part of marketing. Your company vehicles, your loaner cars, having loaner cars is extremely important. Jim, I recall years ago when we had our management group, each group I would have a guest speaker. And one of the times you were the guest speaker and you talked about loaner cars and how much work you got from having loaner cars and work that you wouldn't have gotten if you didn't have loaner cars. And I've heard people say, loaner cars are such a hassle and people don't fill them up with gas and they don't, return them properly, or they smoked in it, which is kind of rare. I kind of doubt people would do that maybe 25 years ago. But having loaner cars, if you do it right with the insurance and everything, can be a huge benefit and great marketing. Your hours of operation, the warranty that you have. I just received an email from a member this week who increased the warranty to 24 months, 24,000 kilometers. Pricing, packages that you have, seasonal promotions, etc. Spring, summer, fall, winter. Tire storage, of course, is part of marketing, where people leave the tires at your shop because it's too much of a hassle for them to bring them back to their place. They don't have the space for it. And they're going to come back in the next season because you have their tires there. Social media is part of marketing. Facebook, personal and business on Facebook, because even some of your friends online, hopefully, are going to do business with you. And not that you want to make your personal Facebook all about business. And I try to avoid that myself. But having a business page as well. And then there's Twitter and LinkedIn and Google reviews. I recall many years ago, when it came to marketing, a lot of it was really about advertising and what your Yellow Page will look like, and advertising with flyers and through the post office, etc. And we didn't talk about social media. We didn't talk about websites. But today, social media, your website has a lot to do with marketing. The quality of your work, the quality of the quality control checklist to make sure that everything looks good before it gets back to the customer, and that there's not any grease or any fingerprints on the vehicle as well. And then there's also, of course, the comeback policy. So I'm going to go right into the promotions planner, which we are definitely going to be coming back to. And what I want to do is we're going to be having a few of the members add some information about their own experiences with marketing. And I'm not sure who that noise is coming from. I'm going to just see if I can. This is a whole different setup than I'm used to. And what I'll do is I'll pull up the marketing and promotions planner. And in any major corporation, they do a lot of marketing in advance, and it's not done on the fly. Usually they know what they're going to be marketing when and where. For example, large parts companies, you see their flyers come out every week or every 2 weeks or at least once a month, and the sales rep comes along and you get the flyer, or you get your parts delivery and there's a flyer with it, which is the shock promotion or the brake promotion, whatever. Well, marketing isn't done on the fly with those guys. They have a planner well in advance. I was doing a session in the US, I believe it was Oklahoma City, and it was in a Napa meeting room, which was part of their distribution center there. And in a box in the corner, they had calendars that showed their marketing for the entire year and all the promotions they were going to do. And so I asked if I could have their permission to give each one of those calendars to the repair shops. And they, of course, allowed. They certainly were going to say no in front of everybody. But it was neat to be able to see exactly what the parts companies were going to do every month of the year. So what I've decided to do is create a marketing planner. And I've been working on this many, many hours. I think I've spent more hours on this than the actual 167 line map program for our composite for our groups. But I believe that marketing is designed to do 4 things. Of all the things we just looked at marketing, everything that you do from a marketing perspective should operate under one of 4 things. And one is to bring in new customers, people who've never been there before. Number 2 is to bring back your customers more often, because sometimes they don't come in often enough. Another thing we need to do is increase our average invoice to get them to spend more per visit. And thirdly, and very important and slightly different than average invoice, is to increase your average gross profit per invoice. I've seen some times where we make the package so compelling that we actually collected more money, but we actually had less gross profit because we were being just a little bit too generous with that package. And I'm going to show an example of the fast food industry that I think is absolutely brilliant at this whole process of marketing and getting us to go back more often, getting us to spend more each time they came in, and also to be able to buy their highest gross profit items. So what I did is I broke this down for you to be able to complete this, and it would be for each month of the year. Now, a lot of major corporations, they will do all 52 weeks. So they'll say week 32 and week 45, and you'll see the marketing plans, and they know what they're going to mail out or send or whatever they're going to do for each week of the year. And I think in small business, we don't think like that. We think January, February, March. We don't think week 23. I mean, most of us, we thought right now, what week is this? I'm pretty sure it's close to week 52 because Christmas is next week, but most of us wouldn't think what exact week of the year this is. So what I decided to do, and I did get some input from some of the members when I did this, is instead of doing big picture, just January and February, March, the rest of the months, what I decided to do is break it down to the 4 weeks of the month. Now, I do know it's not always 4 weeks. There's 4.2 weeks in an average month. Sometimes there's a couple days. There's really never where there's full 5 weeks. That would be 35 days. That's just too much. Not going to happen in a month. And so what I decided to do is, because most of us think in terms of month and week, so you could start, let's say your promotions is going to start the second week in January, or the second week in March, or the third week in April, or maybe it's going to be a marketing plan that you're going to do for the entire month, so you could check off what that's going to be and when it's going to be. So what I wanted to do is break down all of the ideas that we have, and I've got a few members, like I said, that are going to talk about some of these things that they are doing. But what I really want to encourage you to do is, before 2018 even starts, is to know what you're going to do and when, to make sure that every single month, and most of the weeks in the month, every single month, you're going to be doing some marketing and some advertising. Too often what happens is, when it slows down, we think, oh, it's slowed down, let's get some stuff out there. And then that goes out. But if it's mail, it takes some time to get there. And then next week you get busy, but maybe it was going to get busy anyway. So marketing like that is sometimes too late. And too often what it does is it makes the peaks higher, but the valleys deeper. And that's not good. We don't want car count all over the place. We want as much consistent car count as we possibly can. One of my favorite things about Jim Voigt, it was telling me years ago that he hated February, couldn't stand February. He hated February. His dad hated February. His dad's dad hated February. And you're not the only one, Jim. I've heard from many people, I wish we could take February out of the calendar. It's not because of anything other than poor planning on our part. What we need to do is take care of February before February comes. And you can take care of February and January and December and November. In Calgary, we have what's called the Calgary Stampede. I'm sure no matter where you are listening to this, you've heard of the Calgary Stampede. It brings in like 1.2 million people a year. And some people think the city comes to a screeching halt because everybody goes to the Stampede. That's not the case. Not everybody goes to the Stampede. I'm not a huge fan. When I was younger, I was, but maybe half the city goes to the Stampede. Other people are not interested. And it doesn't mean that everybody's going to be going down there and can't get their car repaired. Now, if you're on the parade route and they're doing the full parade, yeah, parade morning, most businesses are closed because of that. But you can plan that in advance. So if you're planning in advance and the Stampede is really big to that customer and they've got people coming in from out of town, well, they're not going to book the appointment during the Stampede. But we can't assume that it's slow because the things I've heard, it's slow because of the weather. It's slow because of tax time. It's slow because it's back to school. Yeah, a lot of people have kids going back to school and it's busy, but not everybody has kids going back to school. And so when you're planning it in advance, if the people are going back to school, they might think, oh, that's the first week back to school. That's mayhem for me. And other people like me, my kids are growing up. They're not heading to school, so it's not a factor at all. So if we plan that in advance, those things that we think like February or back to school or back from school, back from college, Stampede, Phil, we were talking about the event that happens in your town, the fair that happens there 10 days every year. And you've learned that you can take care of that in advance. But if you get too close to that and think, oh, the fair's next week and we got to try to get some business, it's a little bit too late. So everything that we look at from a marketing perspective is designed to do one of four things: to bring in new customers. We lose about 15 to 16% of our customers every year, no matter where you are. Now, if you live in a retirement community, well, maybe you're going to lose a few more because they're retired and near dying. But the average shop loses 15 to 16% of its customers every year. Some move, nothing you can do about that. Some die, nothing you can do about that. Some get married and go to the new spouse's repair facility. Maybe we can do something about that. Maybe they bought a new car and they think the relationship with us is over because they are going back to the dealer, and they don't realize that we can still take care of that new car of theirs. And so there's ways of getting around those. But the bottom line is we're going to lose customers every year. And by the way, the number one reason people leave a business is they get ticked. They get ticked with somebody. It's the human side of business why most people stop dealing with the business. If somebody screws up and they make it right and they take care of us, we think, wow, we can even become more loyal after that because, wow, did they ever take care of me? But it's the human side of the business. The number one reason people stop dealing with the business is because of somebody's attitude. And if this was a live session, everybody would have at least, I left a bank because of attitude. I stopped dealing with whatever because of somebody's attitude. So it's a reason why we lose people as well. But everything that you do is going to fall into one of these categories. And the question is, when are you going to focus on bringing in new customers? It's really the most expensive kind of marketing that you're going to be doing. We don't have their email addresses. They've never been to our shop before. So it's not as easy to reach these people. So it takes different strategies to bring in new customers, and typically is the most expensive thing. But we still need to do it because we're losing people. So at least maybe once a year or twice a year or once a quarter or every 3 weeks or once a month or whatever you want to do, your focus is what are we going to be doing 2 times a year, 3 times a year, 4 times a year to bring customers in who've never been there before, and what strategies are we going to use to adopt them. The next one, little less ways of getting a person to come back more often, but there are certain things that we can do to get them back more often. And I personally think that pre-booking the next appointment is the thing that you can do more than anything other. They leave now with a commitment to come back. And then a lot of the things that you do are going to relate to increasing the average invoice to get people to spend more time each time they come in, And then there's also the gross profit. And this, you'll see the pages that I worked on today, just so you know where it says line 52. The reason that's doing that again is when you go to print this off on 8.5 by 11 paper, it's going to make sure that the heading is right on top. So it looks really good when you print it off, just so you know that was a huge amount of work, and it was fun to do, but a little tedious, but you'll see when you print it off that it really does print nicely. Ultimately, it would be good to be able to print it off on 8.5 by 14, but most people don't have it. But in reality, most of this you're going to be using in this working Excel spreadsheet. The increasing the gross profit per invoice, and then some of the things that you're going to be doing from a marketing perspective will relate to social media, online and community stuff you'll do, annual promotions that you're going to do, and seasonal work that you're going to do as well.
Kelly, forgive me. Kelly, forgive me. I'm seeing what is marketing, not the Excel spreadsheet that you're discussing.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. Sorry, I didn't realize that. Okay. So I need to figure that out. I apologize about that. Yeah, so you know what? It's not actual screen share. It shows one thing at a time. I apologize about that. I think I know how to fix that. Can you see it now?
Nope, we're seeing what is marketing. And if you hit screen share one more time, I think you can pick the screen that you want to share.
Yeah, what it's saying here is the new share, which is there. Okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
One of the problems with this is that you can't see what people are seeing, right? So are you seeing it now?
Yes, correct. We see the Excel spreadsheet 2018 promotions.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Okay, so I apologize for that. Anyway, across the top, we've got each of the months, the week of the year. And then what you're going to do is put into here, line 10 is unaddressed ad mail. Certainly not something you're going to do every single week. It's extremely expensive, but maybe you decide you're going to do that in the first week of February, and then again in April. So what you're going to do is fill into the spreadsheet what you're going to do and when. So again, bringing in new customers, you're going to be bringing new customers in, and you're going to be focusing on these things certain times of the year, but planned well in advance. Bringing them back more often, what are you going to do and when to do that? What are you going to do ongoing to increase your average invoice to get them to spend more per visit? What are you going to do with social media? My experience with social media is that it's very inexpensive. Years ago, you had to throw money at advertising. It was flyers that were mailed out. It was newspaper ads. It was radio, maybe a little bit of TV, something like that. Now it's extremely time consuming to spend time on your Facebook, business and personal, to work on LinkedIn. I as of today, I have 9,585 LinkedIn connections. That didn't cost me a dime, but it took hours and hours and hours of work. So I've experienced that you need to spend a lot of time on your social media. The bottom line is, are you going to put time into your marketing, or are you going to put money into your marketing? And years ago, it used to be money. A little bit of time, of course, but now it's the reverse. So you need to make sure that you allow yourself time for marketing. You know, in reality, there are skills that you need to run your business. You need to be able to fix cars. You need to be able to market your business, the financial part of the business, and productivity and purchasing and leadership and team building and all of those things. There's 6 major things, but I'm convinced of all of the things that you need to run your business. Marketing demands more creativity than anything else that you do. I mean, really, how much creativity is there in income statements and balance sheets and cash flow statements? Now, most of us remember Enron from a long time ago, and yeah, they use some creative stuff with their accounting, but marketing changes and it changes and it changes. When I taught 30 years ago, it was an income statement, a balance sheet, and a cash flow statement. The benchmarks have changed somewhat, but the income statement pretty much looked the same. Marketing has totally changed. And so you need to spend more time thinking about marketing than any other aspect of your business because it demands more creativity. The problem is, as I'm sure most of you have heard, the average manager is interrupted 223 times a day. So how do you get something done when you get distracted? You're working on Facebook, you get a phone call, you take the phone call, an employee wants to talk to you, you're back on Facebook, and then somebody else wants to talk to you, and then a vendor wants to talk to you, and then all these distractions throughout the day. And at the end of the day, you didn't get a chance to spend on Facebook or LinkedIn or your Google reviews or whatever it might be. Then there's the annual things like shop's anniversary. I think we should have a shop anniversary. I just had my 30th anniversary and I ran a 30th anniversary promotion. Things like back to school and Girl Scout hosting. I'll talk about that a little bit. Some of the things that happen on an annual basis that you'd like to do, like Thanksgiving. One of my favorites is to send your customers a Thanksgiving letter or a card. Personally, I think it's better to send a Thanksgiving letter or card than a Christmas card. I mean, really, you think about how many Christmas cards does your business get at this time of the year? How many Christmas cards do you get in your home? Not as many as we used to years ago, I'm sure. But we don't really pay attention to who gave us one, who didn't. The question is, how many Thanksgiving cards did you get from a business last year that said, thank you for being our customer? So if it's about scoring points, and it is about scoring points, what we want to do is make sure that we take and get the biggest bang for our buck. And personally, I think Thanksgiving's a great time of the year to do it. It's not a religious holiday. You know, I don't want to get into the detail, but you can offend some people with religious kind of holidays. But Thanksgiving is just simply Thanksgiving. We'd like to thank you for your business. And then there's the seasonal things that we should be doing every single year, planned well in advance. When are we going to do our spring, summer, fall, winter tire swap promotion, our winter promotion, and Thanksgiving letters and things like that. So just so you know, on the bottom of this, there are 65 ways to increase car count. And all you need to do is go onto here and click. And what it's going to do is bring you right to the video that goes along with it. Some of you have already seen this. It's called 65 Ways to Increase Car Count. So what I wanted to do to make it as simple as I possibly could for you, I listed here what the segment is called. Then there's a little 2 to 3 minute video that goes along with that. Some might be 4 minutes, but they're all very, very short. And there's 67 of them in total, the 65 ways to increase car count. but there's an introduction at the beginning and a conclusion at the end. So if you're looking through here and you think, I don't know what that one is, like the donuts, pizza, popcorn. So all you need to do is click there. And what it's going to do is bring you right to the video. And you're not going to hear the sound here, I don't think, but it's I'm hearing it. Were you hearing it, by the way?
No, Kelly, we're not.
That's right. I didn't want to unplug my headset for you to do that. But just to let you know, whenever you click on any of that first column of that, it'll bring you right to this video. It was done in studio a few years ago, and the camera adds 20 pounds, please. Remember that? And basically what it is all of these short 2 to 3 minute clips on what that program is about and how you run it. So then all you need to do with the spreadsheet itself, were you seeing the video?
Yes, Kelly, we see now donuts, pizza, popcorn, you standing there in the camera.
Yeah, which is interesting because I didn't have to go off of this for that to happen. So learning this new software. But anyway, so here's the deal. So let you watch that and think, oh yeah, I want to sponsor a team. So all you do is go there and copy it or cut it and bring it up here and say, okay, I'm going to do that. I'm going to put it. So I'm going to put it here, Control V. And then what you do is decide what month you're going to do that. So again, I tried to do that too quickly. You watch the video, you say, yeah, I'm going to do that. We're going to do donut, pizza, popcorn. Take that, bring it up. When are you going to do it? So, well, that's going to be designed to bring in new customers. So I'm going to lift that here and I'm going to do that on that particular month. So you indicate what month you're going to do it. So I wanted to make it simple to have the 65 ways to increase car count as part of the spreadsheet, the links to get to the videos directly to the internet right from the spreadsheet, and the ability to copy and paste what that strategy is going to be and put it right into your planner. So the whole idea is that by next Wednesday, all of you have had the time to go through and create your own planner. I've done most of the work already, in that if you don't want to look after one of these, not everybody can do everything, and you decide you're not going to do it, well, you think, well, the Business Network Club is second person. I'm not really going to do that. So you can just take it out, and then you can go down to the 65 ways to increase car count and bring in another one. So all you're really going to be doing is adding ones from the bottom or deleting ones from the top. And then ultimately you're going to have a plan. But the thing you need to do is decide when you're going to do it. So signage for the shop, maybe that's not going to happen until February. So you can put any notes in here. You can put any note that you want. And you can do it, as you go through. The sign, maybe you've ordered the sign. And then you're going to have the sign delivered. And then the sign's going to be installed here. So you can make any notes that you want across your planner when each of those items is going to be taken care of. So again, the planner goes all of the months of the year, and it's broken down. So when you get to here again, the page break is there, so you don't have to scroll all the way back to the left. So the question is, what are you going to do in the next year, 2018, that's designed for the entire marketing process? What are you going to do to bring in new people? What are you going to do to get them back more often? What are you going to do to get them to spend more per visit? And what are you going to do to be able to get them to spend more money on higher gross profit items, and you're going to fill in the higher gross profit items. So now the next thing I want to do is I want to turn it over to Phil. And Phil and I have gone through and planned some things that he is going to discuss of the things that he's done. And so I'm going to turn it over to Phil, and I'll put up some things that I wanted to show as he's talking. So Phil, just a very, very brief introduction. And then if you could start going into the order, we already planned the order. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Phil Snyder. I own Stouck's Auto Repair Shop in York, Pennsylvania. 7-day shop where in 2018 we'll be celebrating our 60th anniversary. Kelly, do you have the PowerPoint with the items?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You see my PowerPoint?
I see your PowerPoint. There we go. Okay. So some of the marketing strategies that we have at Stouck's, what you can see on the screen now, the Stouck's Bucks, which is a $25 certificate that it's a multifaceted marketing piece. Stouck's Bucks go with every new customer letter welcoming a new customer in, they get a $25 Stouts Buck certificate with that letter. Neat thing about that is it's no strings attached. Where the expiration date is, we write in no expiration date, so they have no obligation to be there within a certain period of time, where it's just like $25 free for them. What makes them work so well is very rarely does a car ever leave where we don't have some form of a recommendation for another type of service or repair on the repair order, which then gives them an opportunity to say, wow, if I get this done, I got my $25 Stouts Bucks. They come back and use them for that. They also go with the thank you letters that we send out to customers who refer other customers there. As a thank you, we give them a $25 Stouts Buck certificate. And then they're also used for other promotional items, like if I know somebody's having some type of a charity event where they're looking to give away prizes or something like that, I'll hand a few of them to dispense, as prizes, silent auctions, things like that.
Now, I want to ask you a quick question because I've been training a long time. And one of the things that I love about training, and you've done some training yourself and you're going to be doing more of it, is that when people try to trip you up and ask you a question that they think is going to stump you, and you think, okay, but I've heard the question 52 times, but you don't tell them. But I've had people say, yeah, right. But what if they just use it for an oil change?
Absolutely. Then they just use it for an oil change. What I found in strategy with any type of the marketing that I do where I'm offering Stouts Bucks or a discount off of a service or a state inspection or something like that, I'm controlling what's going out. So I know what my exposure is if it comes back. I don't hesitate to ever honor any of the discounts or Stouts Bucks or taxi certificates or anything like that when they come back. So a lot of times people will hold the Stouts Bucks as kind of like their little secret to the very, very end. Right when you give them the total and they're ready to pay you, they will actually pull out the Stouts Bucks and say, oh, well, can I use this? Without hesitation. Absolutely. Great. Excellent. Yes. Let me redo the invoice here and we'll take that off right now for you.
I understand why people do that. For our kids, for years and years and years, every year of school, they sold those entertainment coupon books, and it was their fundraiser for the school. And we'd use them in restaurants, but I wasn't letting anybody see that puppy before I ordered the food because you think, oh, they're going to go, oh, you're one of those people. Of course, they're the ones that put the coupon in there, but you don't want them to bring you old food or less food or something. But the $25 to me, and the reason I really brought that up is because it is a gift. So if you send me a $25 gift for coming into your shop, and by the way, I don't know if everybody does welcome letters, but I think every single person who comes into your business to deal with you should receive within a week or two max a welcome letter, thanks for coming in, and $25. Now, if you sent me this $25 and said I had to spend $100, that's not really a gift. And by the way, you'll hear me talk about certificates versus coupons. I don't like coupons. They're just nasty, I think, in that they're usually a percentage off, 10% off, 15% off. One time I was driving down the road with a friend of mine, and we saw a brake place, a repair shop on the side of the road, and it said 10% off brakes. I said, what do you think of that sign? He said, what's 10%? You walk into a mall and you see these clothing stores that say up to 75%. People pay attention to 50 and 60 and 75%, but 10% is actually an insult. And we don't know what it's worth. Like right now, Phil, I look at this, it's sitting here, it's $25. No matter what I want to buy, it's $25. It's not 10% off. 10% off is thinking, oh, Phil, I hope you're going to charge me a lot this time because 10% off more is more off. I'm not hoping it's going to cost me more to save more. So to me, a coupon is a percentage that doesn't really denote what it's worth until you go to spend it. But in this case, it's $25. It's kind of like Staples. Staples is really good at marketing, and they never, that I've seen ever in their promotions, will give you, and I'm talking about when you go online with them, it'll be $10 off 100, which is still only 10%. But at least you look at that piece of paper and it's worth $10. And some of you I know are starting to collect email addresses. Some shops don't. They're afraid to. I think we need to collect email addresses. I think we need to give people a reason for that and say, we'd like to get your email address so we can make you aware of internet-only specials or promotions or gift certificates or whatever. But if you notice Staples, when you sign in with a different computer and it's seeing a different IP address, it'll pop up and say, fill in your email address and they'll give you $10. And years ago, it was $10 off anything over 100. And now it'll say $10, but when you get the thing in your email, it's $10 off printing or $10 off something specific. So they're not being quite as generous as they used to be, but they're still giving that $10 away. So Phil, I appreciate the fact that it's an amount of money, not just a percentage off. If you could talk about your taxi certificate, please.
So yes, again, the taxi certificate is basically the same thing, except it's used for customers who have somebody drop them off to pick up their vehicle or pick them up when they drop their vehicle off, to go out, hand it to the person in the car, introduce yourself, and say, hey, thank you so much for helping us out. We appreciate that. For doing that, here, I'd like to give you this. Why don't you give us a try? Come on in, spend the $10 and, see whether you like us or not. The taxi certificate right now is in its infancy stages. I'm still working with that, so I don't have any measurable return yet on it. But the look on the people's faces are sometimes priceless, that they're like, wow. First off, the guy came out and introduced himself, and two, he's giving me $10. We'll see how many really do come back. I'll measure that and see. But the neat thing about the taxi certificate and the Staux bucks, they are slightly smaller than dollar bill size. They're professionally printed, and the stock that they're printed on is more than just regular paper. So it has a little bit of firmness to it. And I find the majority of the Staux bucks that come back have been riding around in a wallet for quite some time because they look to be fairly worn. So people are putting them in their wallet, waiting for the time that they come in. And of course, they go into their wallet to pay their bill. Oh, that's right, I got a Staux buck certificate here.
Yeah, reminder.
Hand it out. So,
and it's a currency. It's $10, right?
Right. Absolutely. Right.
Just for the record, I'm not going to go into detail, but one of the 65 ways to increase car count is one of those professionally done videos that you just started to see there, and it explains the $10 certificate in more detail. So anyway, back to you, Phil.
Yeah. So it's the idea that my daughter had, who did the graphic design work for me, it was to make them something that would fit comfortably into someone's wallet, but still be a thick enough stock that actually sticks out, outside of the regular paper money. So,
okay.
Yeah.
I also wanted to talk please about your mailers, and I did get the PDF that you sent me, but couldn't make it work into the PowerPoint. So, but if you could talk about the mailers and the fact, just for the record, maybe Kevin, the statistics with GemCar, because I've heard them, something like 80% of people will come back from a piece of mail compared to what percentage they'll come back if it's an email. And it's because we get so little mail today and we get so much email. So email doesn't stand out like it used to. And so now when you actually put something in the mailbox, it stands out.
Right. We mail reminders for oil changes, maintenance reminders, repairs that we made the commitment to remind the customer about for the future, and yearly state inspections. All of our reminders go in a hand-addressed envelope on our company Staux letterhead. For oil changes, we offer a $5 coupon per se. State inspections and larger maintenance items and larger repairs, we offer a $10 coupon per se. That's again spelled out in the letter. And then right on the letter, I use a quarter size Starburst sticker that says save $10 off with this letter, or save $5 off with this letter. The reminders are vehicle specific. We spell out the exact vehicle. that it's for. If it's an oil change service, we make sure we note that the mileage is due at. So again, they can compare that against their vehicle. We mail all of them out every Thursday. So they leave the shop on a Thursday, which they will then usually land in the people's homes on a Saturday. And I found through measuring the return back, people evidently read more mail on a Saturday than they do on a weekday. We've had a much better return with them since we started mailing them on Thursdays. So we have a little bit of a strategy there.
But just for the record, for the Canadians on board, we don't get mail on Saturdays. But anyway, it is kind of nice to have that extra day. Phil and I talked yesterday of setting up for this class in the last couple of days anyway, and I asked him if he'd do some of the training, and he mentioned line 46. He didn't say line 46. He said blue sheet. And I said, oh my gosh, Phil, I completely forgot about the blue sheet. I haven't heard the expression blue sheet since training probably 10 years ago, and it was you. But what a great memory it brought back. So can you explain to people what the blue sheet is and how it's designed to increase your average invoice and increase gross profit?
Absolutely. So the blue sheet, actually, I mean, I can't take credit for designing it. That comes from a shop that I was working at the time when we were taking a lot of the training from Kelly Bennett, but we had embraced the courtesy inspection. So basically the blue sheet is the courtesy inspection form that's filled out by the technician and then is given to the customer. Happened to be printed on blue paper. So we kind of dubbed it the blue sheet and always called it the blue sheet. And we had embraced it so much that, and I use it as such a sales tool at the counter when cashing out a customer, that the customers actually, if they did not get their blue sheet, they would actually ask me, hey, you didn't give me my blue sheet. That we actually had the customers trained to be looking for their blue sheet, which was phenomenal because it was a great tool to sell the next service, to set the reminders. Again, it just helped with overall repair order average for the next time through. And again, and increasing gross profit, obviously, by being able to be in the know for what the vehicle needs next and be prepared for that. Easier to sell work that you already know about than a car that comes in broken. But,
okay, just a second. David put up his hand. How polite! It's our new thing in this software is that you can put up your hand. And so, if you could just put in whatever your question is by chat, David, because I don't think you've got a microphone and headset. But if you could just chat me what your question is or your comment, I'd like you to add that. The thing about the blue sheet that got me so excited is because we taught about inspections. And I've had my to-do list on a special colored paper. My son says it's pink, but it's not. It's salmon colored paper, and it stands out. And when I would do a classes, some of you may remember coming to classes, and I would have an action plan, and it would be on salmon colored paper or ivory, which, by the way, a study was done to find out which is the absolute best color to send people flyers through the mail or whatever. And I remember years ago with my Starting a Successful Business session, we actually took the Starting a Business flyer, printed it off on every piece of paper, color paper, I should say, that we can get from our printer. And it's amazing how many colors there are. And there's all those fuchsia colors, which are hideous. And so we printed off the flyer on every color paper, put it on the wall, and we said, okay, that one's really bad, that one's really bad, that one's really bad. And the color we were left with that we liked the most was buff color. It's not yellow, it's called buff. And then years later, I was studying marketing, and they said the best color to put a flyer on is buff color. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If you're going to be doing flyers for your customers, you can go to Staples or whatever and get what's called buff. By the way, Phil, I really appreciate your comment about quality of paper. I'm very particular when it comes to hard copies. Kevin, you've traveled with me. You know what that's like. I want it to be thicker bond paper. I mean, when you're talking about $10 for 500 sheets or $13 for 500 sheets for the kind of quality it has is phenomenal to spend the extra $3. So get good quality. Don't use cheap stuff. And I really think that color really works. And by the way, color printers now are so inexpensive. You can buy an HP, 8610, 8620. That is the fastest color printer I've ever seen. It does two-sided coloring. And I think we should always send out stuff in color. Those printers, if you get it on sale, are around $100 in the US. I don't know why they're more expensive, but $120, $130. I remember buying my first printer years ago that was monochrome color, and it certainly didn't do two-sided, and it was a lot more money than that. So to get something printed in color at a shop, print shop or Staples, can get pretty expensive. So I do recommend that you get a really good, cheap HP 8610 color printer. And as you probably know, the money is in the ink, not the printers themselves. But I just discovered just recently that you can buy the color ink off of Amazon. And I know you can go to places like Staples and get those refilled. By the way, they don't do the new 8620 yet, just so you know, but you can buy that on Amazon for very inexpensive. So bottom line is, make sure when you send out flyers, it's good quality paper. Spend the extra few dollars a ream to get higher quality. Buff is going to be your best color, and I do suggest that you send it off in black and white. So I'm going to let you continue, Phil, with the blue sheet, and then I'm going to read the question or comment that David has.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess that's about it for the blue sheet. I mean, again, it was just the courtesy inspection that we were doing at the shop, and again, as a shop, we had embraced it to the point that it became second nature. Everybody got it. It wasn't questionable. Everybody got the blue sheet. And by being totally consistent with the customer, we actually trained the customer to actually anticipate the blue sheet. Just phenomenal of what example of what consistency can do for you.
You know, I remember, like, it came back to me so clear, and I can remember the moment where you said, a customer said, "Where's my blue sheet?" And I thought, oh, that's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. The customer not only knows that you do an inspection on the vehicle, they want to see it, and they happen to know it's a blue sheet. David, I really appreciate his question or comment. And he says, my belief with rebates and coupons is that you attract bargain shoppers, which I want to stay away from, such clients and associated cheap cars. And I don't dispute that at all. Just so you know, JD Power and Associates, credible organization, JD Power and Associates did a study to find out what percentage of our customers are cheapskates. Now, this was done in Canada. I suspect it's not much different in the US, but it was 12%. They determined that 12% of customers, all it was about was money. They could care about less about anything else. They don't care what your shop looks like. They don't care if you have a loaner car. They don't care what color your sheet is. They want the absolute cheapest. And I would agree with you, David. We don't want to attract the wrong kind of people. I've had people say, oh, these cheapskates come to me with their coupons. Well, I know a guy, but this is, it sounds crazy, but it's not made up. I was asked by Worldpac, a really great parts company years ago in Vancouver, to go and work with one of their clients. We invited them to one of our group meetings as our guests. And I don't make this stuff up. Their slogan was the home of the $9.95 oil change. That was their slogan. So I won't tell you the name of the business, although it had the word economy in it. The slogan was the home of the $9.95 oil change. And they were busy, busy, busy. I went into that shop. It was a complete dump. We brought our team in to do an on-site evaluation. Some of you, you've seen me do the on-sites before. It's a full day. We spent maybe 35 minutes in that on-site. Now, they were our guests, right? So it's not like, you know, they weren't paying, is my point. And it, just for the record, I want to make it sound like we're being rude, because normally we'd spend 2.5 hours and then go back to the hotel. But after a little over half hour, I said, we're leaving. And they didn't know, because they weren't familiar with the deal, that it wasn't that fast. But it was without a doubt one of the unsafest places I've ever been. There was stuff all over the floor. I thought the technicians were going to trip over stuff. There's engines that I thought might fall off. The owner had a bottle of Jack Daniels on his table, and I thought, oh my God, what a zoo this place is. But anyway, the home of the $9.95 oil change attracted really a lot of the wrong people. There's another fellow in Vancouver that had done a lot of things, but one thing he did say was he regretted doing a $29.95 oil change, because he sent out a coupon, $29.95 oil change, without an expiry date on it. And this lady came in and she said 3 times, I have the coupon, I have the coupon, I have the coupon. So they did the oil change, and he gave her the bill, and she said, well, it's not $29.95. And he said, well, ma'am, there's a $3 fee for shop supplies. She said, no, it didn't say that. And he said, fine, ma'am, if you don't want to pay the $3. So he took it off, and she leaves, and she phoned back, and she said, I'm looking at your coupon because I got it from my neighbor for the next time. So she found out her neighbor wasn't using the coupon, so she wanted to get one from them. But she said, the next time I come back, I don't want you to charge me the tax because your coupon didn't say plus tax. So yeah, you can attract the wrong kind of people. But there's two different things that we're looking at here. One is to do things for free or cheap to get people to come to your shop and be loyal with you. And then there's another where you're rewarding people for their loyalty. And there's a big difference between the two. One is, here's something for free. Hopefully you'll come back, which attracts the wrong kind of person, or something like the $9.95 oil change. But to reward somebody, for example, Phil, you come into my shop, and Jeff, you pull up in behind. Phil comes in, signs the deal, give him the keys. He gets back into Jeff's car, or Jeff's car, and takes off. And at the end of the day, that car comes back. Well, Phil didn't ask me to drive him. Phil didn't ask for a shuttle. Phil didn't ask for a loaner car. His friend brought him here. And so I'm going to reward him with a $25 certificate that says, hey, thank you very much for bringing Phil in today. Phil's a great customer. He's been with us for 2 years. By the way, I see that you've got a Toyota here. We have got a great Toyota technician here. Don't lie. Tell them the truth, right? And say, we've got the latest and greatest Toyota technicians or equipment or whatever, scanning equipment, whatever. And here's $25 in the event that they'd like to come back. So to reward somebody for being loyal is totally different than giving somebody something so they will become loyal. Okay, Phil, I would also like you to talk about Google reviews. You've been called the king of Google reviews, and I'd like to know why.
Well, we do a really good job at getting genuine, real Google reviews. And when I say that, you can hire a third party to solicit to your customers to get you Google reviews where they actually market to the customer to get them to leave a review. And I kind of took a different approach to that and said, in the beginning, when I bought the shop, it was a struggling shop. If we just do things right and we do what we said, customers should come back and the customers should like us. And very early on, the Google reviews that we got were not even solicited or asked for. I just started to become really amazed at, wow, I'm getting these reviews. I'm not even asking for them. I guess the consistency in what we're doing is working. So, of course, then I make sure I share that with the staff. Every time we get one, I stop. Everybody say, hey, everyone, I want to just show you, we just got a Google review. Or last night I got a Google review. And I read it to them. And I say, look, guys, this isn't me. This is all of you, all of us doing one common thing. And that kind of pumps them up because now they can't wait till the next one comes in. And then we get the new customers that come in and say, oh my gosh, I found you on Google. I saw your reviews. And if the experience warrants, we may say to the customer, excellent, we appreciate you recognizing that. If you have a moment, would you mind giving us a Google review like you read? And let it at that. And we find that just being consistent, doing what we say we're going to do, and casually asking if they would mind doing it is getting us not huge quantities of Google reviews. I mean, I've got, I think, 33 now in a year and a half, but they are so well written and so genuine that you can read them and tell it's not a solicited review. It's not somebody that asked you to say certain things. I mean, in my opinion, that they're easy to pick out of anybody's Google reviews. But again, us as a staff have really taken the time to embrace the fact that if we are consistent with what we do what we say we're going to do, follow through, follow up, and occasionally maybe ask, would you mind doing it? Would that be okay? They just start coming in. Every couple weeks, there's another Google review showing up that is just phenomenally genuine. And that is driving so many customers to us. I track and measure all of this, and 90% of our new customers are telling us the reason they're there is because of the reviews that they read.
I personally have come to be one of those people that likes to look at Google reviews to find out what people had to say instead of listening to what the people selling have to say about listen to the people who bought it. By the way, I tried to not laugh here, but David, when I was talking about the $9.95 oil change and that the guy wasn't in a group, he said they didn't have the money to pay for a non-site evaluation because they're already doing $9.99 oil changes, which, by the way, was only $9.95. So maybe my advice should have been instead of $9.95, you could do it for $9.99. That's 4 cents extra each. Anyway, again, Google reviews, absolutely huge to do that. I do encourage us to promote that. I was in a restaurant one time. I love Thai food and was in this restaurant, and it was the best Thai food I'd ever had. And on the back of their business card that she gave me, she said, "Oh, would you mind writing a review?" And on the back of the little business card was these addresses to go to that, you know, a Yelp review or Google review or whatever, and made it really clear that you can do that. And of course, you maybe put it in your wallet. And in that case, I did write a review and said, you know, I've been to all 50 states and it's the best Thai food I've ever eaten. But as far as negative reviews go, I would like to just comment about that too. I did have a member who just recently said to me, I've got the first negative review ever. And I read the review, and I can tell you my experience from reading reviews is you can tell that the person goes on and on and on and on, that they really have a problem. You know, the expression, you give them enough rope, they're going to hang themselves. And the other one is that the devil is in the details. I was reading one of those reviews and I thought, honestly, if I was reading this review and I knew nothing about the shop or this person, I would think, what an idiot this person is, who would want them as a customer. So sometimes they go on and on and on, and they basically hang themselves. Okay, so thank you very much, Phil. I really appreciate that input. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jeff. All the way,
Kelly.
Yes, sorry.
If I just might just add one thing here.
Yes,
that
absolutely.
kind of struck me. We were talking about, well, coupons, you know, bring bottom feeders, things like that. I think there's a difference between a coupon and a certificate.
Correct.
And coupons can tend to be aggravating because if you mass produce them, you really don't know or have any control over what you're getting back. But a certificate, that an example of a Staux Bucks or a taxi certificate or something like that, we're in control of what we send out. It's a defined amount. They can't dispute sales tax. They can't dispute shop supplies, or you didn't tell me this was included or that's included. It's $25, period. So, you know, again, difference between a coupon and a certificate. A certificate is just for a given amount and only that amount.
Yep.
Not a service that could have things added on.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you. That's a really good point. Yeah. $25 and maybe they'd ask for the GST off that or the tax. Of course they are getting it off because it comes down by that amount anyway. Okay. Back to you, Jeff, from old Volk's home way across the country and 3 hours ahead of us, actually.
Yeah. How you doing, Kelly? It's just after 9 o'clock. Yeah. Thanks, Phil. You had some great points. I filled my page, 2 pages actually, full of information and all kinds of ideas there. Thanks, Kelly, for sending that email out. I've watched all 65 of those videos, and I've written notes on every one of those 65. I've got a highlighter pen, different colors, so I know what to try with. And it's you get some great ideas. But some of the things we're already doing, and I've actually combined a few of them, like number 6 and number 22. Number 6 is signage, and you've already touched with that, and appearance, you've already touched on that as well. The shop appearance, not just the shop, but the yard, how the cars are staged. Does it look like they're just dropped out of the sky in your yard? You know, even after a customer leaves and they don't know where to park the car, we take the car, we put it somewhere where it needs to be. And when the customer picks the car up, it's staged. They don't have to back it out of a precarious spot. They can just point for the road and go on. Our doors are clean, you know, we got white garage doors, and we wash them just like we'd wash a car, keep the windows clean. But most importantly, when they walk in our front door, they don't get to see anything that goes on automotive related. They already know they're there to have their car fixed. There's no reason why they need to see any sales paraphernalia on the counter. They see a lovely dressed lady who's behind a counter, and she is the front. She's our office administrator. You've spoken to her many times, but Lisa is great. She greets everybody with a smile, and it's obvious that she works there. There's no reason why anybody would think otherwise. But thanks for bringing the picture of the sign up there, Kelly. But we've got this 20-ton granite boulder out by the road that has this sign bolted on it, and that sign is 4 feet by 3 feet. No, it's 5 feet by 3 feet. Sorry, and you can see it from both directions. It's the white portion of it is luminescent, so in the dark you can see it plain as day when you come by. There's no mistaking what my business is all about. And in case you're wondering, my registered business name is Jeff Hoag's European Auto Repair, and that stems from a cease and desist letter that I got from Volkswagen a few years ago that I couldn't use the word Volks, V-O-L-K-S, in my company name, even though I had this business legally registered since 1985. They sent me, their legal department sent me a cease and desist letter, so I had to stop using the word Volks in my name, so I had to find another name, and this suited me a little better. And we do other cars besides Volkswagen, and believe it or not, it's as catchy as Jeff's old Volkswagen is. It is a little specific, and this is a little more inclusive to the European brands. We've always got a BMW or 2 or 3 at the shop, always have a few Audis, and of course still our main bread and butter is the Volkswagen brand, so we keep them there.
But you know, Jeff,
yes, sir.
Now that Volkswagen has had those massive lawsuits, they can't afford to sue you anymore.
Well,
they probably can't.
Their legal department is a bit busy. So,
I couldn't resist. Anyway,
yeah, no,
that
I know.
Fun, beautiful sign.
So,
but
yes, well done.
I asked him, I said, because I've never been, I said, how far is the sign away from the business? Because you can't see it. And he said 6.82 million miles.
Actually, what you asked me, because the spell check corrected, how far is the sun away from the building?
Oh, my God.
So if you went back and read your text, it says, how far is the sun away from the building? And I just Googled, I didn't know where the sun away is from the building. So that's what I gave you the answer back. I knew what you meant. I was just being smart.
Voice to text does that. I was telling somebody one time on a voice to text that I lived on an acreage. So for those Americans, that simply means I lived on 5 acres. My house was on 5 acres. But I said to somebody, I lived on an acreage in Cochrane for 13 years. And they responded and said, WTF, ? And I thought, it's pretty straightforward. And I looked at it, it said, I lived under a bridge in Cochrane for 13 years. So a couple of years later, my daughter and I were driving through Cochrane, and she said, oh, Dad, is that the bridge that we lived under? I said, try raising 3 kids under a bridge. That's not easy. Okay, and you wanted to talk about image as well.
Image is the big... We've got uniforms that everybody wears, not just run-of-the-mill Canadian linen rented clothes, even though they are rented from Canadian Linen, but I ordered red cap clothes, brand new clothes, so that I just wanted them crisp and clean. Derek, he's our service manager. He's got more of a dress slacks, but he's got new, clean red cap shirts that he wears as well, and we all have our names on them and my logo on the shirt as well, and it's pretty nice. They're well done. This is a picture of our waiting room, and it could be a dentist or a doctor's office. There's no, like I say, there's no sales paraphernalia. We've got a coffee machine in there. That door is always kept closed. You can hear what's going on behind the other side of the door. This picture's taken from the bays, looking into that door, so it looks pretty good that way. But I think that I want somebody to be comfortable to sit in those chairs, somebody comfortable to lean against that countertop, somebody comfortable to come in with not worrying if they have to put their purse down somewhere, it's gonna, leave with grease stains on it. There's none of that. And we make sure every day this floor is clean. It's nice. It turns out good. We're happy with it. But the image also in the garage, when we do have a new customer, I try to, if I have, if it's even practical at all, because sometimes it isn't, I give them a tour of the bays. The bays we only have 2 bays, so it's not a big or long tour that takes hours. We have to serve refreshments or anything. But we will take them through the bays. Our bays are spotless. The floors are clean. My wife comes in. She came in last Friday to clean the shop up before the weekend. We'll do it again this Friday, and we'll do it again the following Friday. And that means the floors are swept, vacuumed, mopped. Tools are put away. The faces of all the toolboxes are all cleaned. The hoists are put up and cleaned, put back down. And we've got in-floor heat, so the floor dries really quickly. It's very nice that way. And then we have a nice lunchroom and an office in behind with a stock room, a lunch counter. And I call it the boardroom table. It's just an old cheapo plastic table, but it'll sit 6 or 8 people around it. And that's where we have our meetings. We'll have lunch and learns, I call them. If we can order lunch in, I'll buy lunch for the guys once a month, and we'll sit and we'll have a meeting and go over some things that need to be gone over. So, and that's all part of the image. But uniforms, I think when you touched on it, that you really should be able to see who works, who's employed at the shop, Kelly. That's a big deal. It shouldn't be any doubt in anybody's mind who's working on their car. We also have another thing I want to touch on is our loaner cars, and that goes as part of our image as well. Our loaner cars are kept clean, especially inside. This is the salt season here, so the loaner cars are going to end up taking a hit on the outside, I'm sure, just with the salt and debris, road debris. But we keep them clean inside, vacuum them out when we can. They've got new snow tires on them. They're serviced, and they smell good. Nobody's smoked in them. They're a decent car, and they're a nice car. We've got an Audi A4 station wagon Quattro, and we've got a Passat 4Motion. Both nice, clean, reliable cars. They're well serviced and maintained. They smell good. What was I going with that? The loaner cars, we would end up getting, I don't know, I never measured the jobs that we closed, the sales that we closed, or the sales that we got because we had loaner cars, but it's significant. We just, working on Volkswagens, they've got a few particular problems that some of them take a little longer than the average car. So if they would drop a car off at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, can we have it back by 4:30? Not this job, we can't. However, here's the keys to our car. You don't worry about when this gets back, and we'll call you tomorrow by 10. And then Derek will call them tomorrow by 10. And that loaner car certainly changes our image because they take that car to their work or to wherever it is they need to go that day. Now, you got to make sure that you have proper insurance. Call your insurance company. It wasn't a big deal. I insisted that I had insurance coverage, and my insurance company, the agent, said that they didn't think they could offer that service, and I just told them I don't think we can have a business relationship. And I spent a lot of money with them a year, so they quickly found a way that they could offer that coverage. And so that was a big deal. But I do have a form that I've designed myself, and it has certain information on it that basically we're the normals. You don't smoke in the car. You can't leave the province with the car. We're not telling you can't take it on vacation. But mind you, we work in a lot of camper vans, so sometimes we have customers that do take them while they're on vacation to explore around the South Shore of Nova Scotia, and that's fine. They have to be between the ages of 25 and 70, and that may be an ageism or not, I'm not sure, but it gets the driver's license number we need. We need their master number from the driver's license, and we can get their birth date from that, so that Lisa can, put that in a log somewhere, and we can find out, send them a birthday card. So that's just a little bit of marketing, just with the information that you can get from that and from that driver's license. But the loaner cars have been amazing. I can't think of a downside in it. Not everybody puts gas in it, and it gets under my skin. But you spend $2,500 at my shop, I'm not going to call you out on not putting gas in the car. And then again, there's some people that will go 15 minutes either way, to their home and back, and they'll fill it to the top. So
exactly,
it'll probably work out in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. Some people just think I'm going to fill it up,
Yeah, yeah. So
okay,
it's
anything else, Jeff?
Not about that. I want to talk about tire storage just for a split second,
Please
if I
do.
could.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know we're running out of time, but
I'm not sure where that beeping's coming from, but somebody's.
Okay,
go ahead.
But it's not for me. Tire storage is a big deal in my shop. We store 188 sets of tires. Once again, my insurance company knows that they're stored. They're in a steel container, and they are, most of them are on wheels, and most of them are from high-end cars. So they could be, Touaregs or BMW. We've got a lot of tires, and we organize them so that in the spring or seasonally, we pick out 7 sets of tires. They're actually stored at my other location, and we bring 7 sets of tires in. I'll have a co-op student, and that co-op student will balance those tires. We don't even tell the customer we're doing it. We'll just rebalance the tires, and then we try to proactively sell that balance. So would you like to have your tires balanced before we put them on? So, and lo and behold, not one person yet has ever said they didn't want it balanced. So, you still hear that beeping, Kelly?
I do, and I'm trying to figure out what I can do about it. So, just one second. I really don't know what's causing it. You can hear me okay, right? Are you guys hearing that beep? Are you hearing the beep? Are you guys hearing the beep?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
I'm hearing it.
I have no idea where that's coming from.
Maybe your time's almost up.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Okay, one other thing. Okay, thank you,
Yes,
Jeff. I wanted to mention just briefly, and I know I was talking with Phil about the Thanksgiving letter, and I talked about it briefly earlier. I think it makes more sense personally to give somebody a Thanksgiving letter than it does to give them a Christmas card, because how many Thanksgiving letters or cards do you get from people? And again, if it's about scoring points, and I believe it is, then we can send that out. Okay, I wanted to turn over to Kevin. Kevin, you're there?
I am. Kelly, do you want to try to mute everybody and just see if maybe that will cure it? Maybe somebody's got their phone on hold or logged off and is still connected.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead. I'll figure this out.
Okay. So I see the active microphone is the 613. Do you want to try to mute that one? Because you're the controller. You can just mute that one particular line. That's not you, correct?
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have the distinct pleasure of being the last person on our 90-minute meeting. So we're going to make my presentation part a little brief. But what I'm really excited about is on the marketing, and what we talked about is, and Kelly, spoke about it, is that I come from a distributor side. I spent a lot of years in the distribution, and we would make our promotions quite a bit in advance. We would know what we were going to do the summer, the fall, the winter, and a lot of you are starting to see that. And one of the things that Kelly and I really wanted to challenge you about is that as you're starting to see these flyers, instead of the sales rep coming in, and that's kind of the icebreaker that he uses to allow himself to draw away your number one tech, maybe what you could do is start capturing those and maybe save them, and let's start using them as ideas on things that we could use for different times of the year as a group on the team, Kelly's team, that we could maybe share those amongst us, because a lot of these companies have marketing departments that are they're genius. And Kelly can speak to the fact of coaching. He had a particular company that it was just amazing to work with them, because the product, the idea, the labeling, the image that they would portray and have him show up was just incredible. And it's really a valuable thing. And for us, it's almost like free marketing dollars. These people are coming in and they're sharing their ideas with you. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to review that. And then we can share it amongst the team. And if you're hearing this recording, Kelly, hopefully at the end, is going to cover what we do as a group as we share these different things. And Kelly, I know we talked earlier about one of the ones that I was really moved about, the 65 ideas to increase car count that you had, was the ASCPA or the Humane Society, depending on what side of the border you're on. And
okay, so I'll tell you what, let me just see here. I'm gonna try something here to see if I'm just switching speakers, and I'm just wanting to see if you can hear this playing at all.
There's no doubt about it. People
Yep.
come with around.
Not very loud though, right?
How many times I've heard people come to the dog or
we can hear it.
Yeah, it's not going to work with the sound. But anyway, so yeah, go ahead and talk about the SPCA.
So one of the ones that I was moved by as I went through the 65 ways to increase car count is that, often just with what Jeff was talking about and what Phil was speaking about also, is where we have customers that come to us and they have an ailing vehicle, or we have a professional image that we're trying to clean up the yard, and we haven't really taken ownership of that yet. Here's an incredible way to plug into somebody that you're looking for, people that value a relationship and have relationships. And dog people, in my example, I'm thinking of dog people as myself. My wife and I, we're almost empty nesters, and I have a couple of small dogs, and they have a groomer that every 5 weeks I take better care of my dogs than I do myself. And when Facebook, you can even see it on your Facebook feeds where you see your friends that are posting things with dogs being dressed up in this, or cats that have new homes that they've come to. And that one particular charity is amazing what it could stimulate in your market and in your area, and how you could be recognized. And it doesn't need to be the Humane Society or the example here for the dogs. All I'm saying is that as you go through these, really start to think about how you could mold yourself and have it be the women's center, or it's going to be about the kids, or it's going to be about the different one. It's an ability for you to elevate yourself in your marketplace, where people just do not identify what's the difference between you and all the other people that they do business with. So I really like the video, and Kelly, with the idea of taking that vehicle that maybe you had the opportunity to purchase at a discount, you could increase the value of that vehicle, fix it up, reach out to some marketing companies, have it lettered, and then put it into distribution where it basically becomes part of the shuttle ride that they use for picking up and dropping off vehicles, for animals that need care from different animal hospitals. Now you have two different people that you're able to connect with, one the Humane Society, or the SCPA, I guess, in Canada. And then in addition, you have veterinary clinics that are very popular in your marketplace. Dog owners are very loyal. They spend their money with people that they value and they relate to. So that was one that just really, to me, Kelly, really jumped out, because a lot of these people, they don't have the budget to be able to have an automobile or a vehicle to pick dogs up or transport them, or animals. And I think there's a lot of value to that. And it's very easy for us to market to them and make them part of our family, right? Where we automatically get goodwill, we have a connection. And if you're a dog lover, it's even easier, right? I spend every 5 weeks on 2 little dogs. As I said, the disposable income that goes to that is more important to me than an extra evening out where I'm going to spend my money on going to a dinner. So it's something that I directly relate to, that I just can see how people could plug into.
And I'm suspecting that you make that next appointment when you're there today.
Absolutely. And you know what? If we don't make that appointment, we actually had this discussion because they got to go tomorrow. If you don't make that appointment 5 weeks in advance, you cannot get in, because she's so busy for so many years. It's not like you just take your dog and drop them off for 3 hours at the spa and you say, oh, well, I'm sure they're going to be fine. There's only certain people that I even let the dogs go out in the front yard without a leash, right? I'm not going to just drop it off someplace. And our automobiles are the same way. Nobody touches my wife's car without her pre-qualifying who's going to be working on it and who they are and how are they dealing with it. Literally, she treats the bus, we call it, her Suburban, the same way as our dogs are. So when you earn that trust, you're going to have it for a lifetime. It's just a matter of making the effort, reaching out and showing people that you can deliver that level of quality, or that level of family values, and you can share with them, and they will plug into it, and you'll have a customer for life.
Back in the 80s, when I was going to college and taking business, I thought the most fascinating thing was marketing. Marketing, it changes all the time. It's completely fascinating. And I think that's probably your mic at this point, but I'm not sure.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Oh, I'm not sure which mic it was, but we're good. So, studying marketing. And one of the things that I remember, even though it was way back when, is that the two things that people pay attention to more than anything else in photographs, in ads, newspaper ads or flyers or whatever, is pictures of babies and pictures of dogs. We just love babies. It's like, you become a dad or a mom for the first time and you're going places, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, how old's your baby? And they're going on. And the same thing with the dog. They really grab attention. I remember teaching a session in Kingston, Ontario, Canada, and this fellow was bringing his Yellow Page ad to show us, and it had a picture of an engine in the Yellow Page ad. And I said, how boring is that? Like, why would you have a picture of an engine in your ad? And I have another client, Deacon's his name, I'll remember like it was yesterday, and him and his wife have 2 gorgeous dogs, and their postcard of their shop is the 2 of them there standing there with their dogs in front of them. So if you really want to grab people's attention, pictures of babies and dogs is absolutely huge, brings attention to people. Okay, we're going to end with just this one thing that I wanted to bring up, and we started a little differently because I did want Jim to come on board, and I really appreciated him talking about pre-booking appointments. And I really do believe that if all the things you do from a marketing perspective that'll change, revolutionize your business, and totally revolutionize your business is, excuse me, is pre-booking appointments, because people are going to come back. So I just want to talk about marketing again. Marketing is a fascinating subject. You can go to school for 4 years and learn marketing. Of course, by the time you get out, it's all changing. You have to go back and learn it again. But I believe the fast food industry has been the marketing champions, maybe unfortunately, of the world. They spend billions of dollars. I believe McDonald's last year was $2.7 billion in marketing. And you would think somebody like McDonald's doesn't have to market. Why would they continue to spend all of this money on TV advertising when they're McDonald's and people will go back? Well, if you study it, you find out that in the fast food industry, all TV advertising does is maintain market share. It does not increase market share. From year to year, it's not going to increase their market share. What it will do is maintain it, which simply means if they stopped advertising and put the money someplace else, then they would lose market share to other people who do run TV ads. But marketing is fascinating when you look at what they do. Fast food industry is brilliant at marketing, better than, again, I think anybody else, unfortunately so. But the first thing, as I mentioned with marketing, the first thing you need to do is bring people to you that you've never had in before. And McDonald's is really good at marketing to the young generation, and kids want to see they want to go to McDonald's. Honestly, when my son was first born, I thought he's never going to go to McDonald's. He's not going to know what McDonald's is. And I would tell him McDonald's was garbage. And I'd say, hey, Scott, what's McDonald's? McDonald's is garbage. Anyway, one day we were driving to visit Grandma, which was some 1,300 kilometers away. And we're driving into the town of Portage la Prairie, Manitoba. And Scott looks up and goes, McDonald's! And I look up, and sure enough, way down the road is the McDonald's logo. It's the most recognized logo in the world, and Coca-Cola is up there as well. Not healthy stuff, but I said, no, what's McDonald's, Scott? He said, McDonald's is garbage, but I'd really like to go. And he said, Mom's been taking me, and I really like it. But, I mean, what was I going to do? Refuse my kids to go to McDonald's for their whole lives? How cruel that would be. But the point is that they're brilliant at marketing, and they're very good at getting the next generation. I'm thinking they put a toy in the Happy Meal to sell more food. It's just a theory that I have. Anyway, the fast food industry is really good at advertising to get new people in. And they're really good at getting us to come back. They're good at offering something that, like in Canada with Tim Hortons, they have what's called the roll up to rim program. And I think they do it just to sell more coffee. It's just my theory. But you roll up the rim and you can win something, and it comes back, roll up the rim every year. But why don't they do it all year round? Because it's a promotion. And I saw a sign the other day at KFC, and it says spicy mayo is back. And I thought, why did it go away? But they do these little things that are seasonal to get us to keep on coming back. I saw this really dumb commercial. I think it was McDonald's, but the guy's at the drive-thru, and he's freezing cold, and he's been waiting in his vehicle for the whole season, waiting for whatever food item is now coming back, and he's going to be the first person to get it. I remember when Krispy Kreme came to Canada, which, by the way, I think there's only one left in the whole country. It just didn't work here. But there were people who came from Edmonton to Calgary, 300 kilometers away, waited overnight on the steps to be the first ones in the line to get the food. Fast food has done a great job in marketing themselves, but they spend money to get us to go there. They spend money to get us to keep on coming back, but that's not where the marketing ends. They are brilliant at creating meals. And I don't know if you've paid much attention to how it works in a lot of these places, but if you've never noticed, take a look the next time you're in one of these places at the signage. The signs on the top or to the left are much bigger than the ones to the bottom or to the right, because we were trained from kids to read from the left to the right. And so anything that you see is something that's of a higher gross profit to them. There's a big picture, and it makes it really simple. It's a number 1 and a number 10, and they make what's profitable the easiest thing for you to see. The smallest font is what's one thing cost. Like, this is generic for McDonald's, so it doesn't actually have the prices on it, because they don't want to have this on the internet and go, how come it's cheaper here than it was there? So they intentionally didn't have the prices on here. But of course, when you go into your local McDonald's, it is. But the smallest font is just a burger, just fries, just a fillet of fish, just an order of a drink or something. They don't want you buying just a burger or just an order of fries. So what they do is they make it easy for us to see the packages. And if you notice, in this case, the biggest font's on the top, smallest are on the bottom. But in most stores, over to the left is the big profitable stuff, the big fonts and the pictures. And then to the right of that, which you'll read last, is the smallest fonts and the least gross profit. So what they do, again, they spend money to get us to go there. They spend money to get us to come back, but that's not where the marketing stops. They want us to spend as much as possible every single time we go in. So that's why they created the full meal deal, to take the burger and the fries and the soda or pop or whatever you want to call it, put it into a package and make it the meal. So it's easy to order that. What about number 4, increasing gross profit? When they sell you that package, that's the full meal deal. The increased gross profit part is mainly the supersize. Would you like to biggie size that or supersize that? And when you supersize or biggie size or whatever they call it at that particular place, they are not giving you a second patty. They are not giving you an Angus patty. They are not giving you a better burger or a fatter one or a bigger one or anything. They are giving you more of what costs them the least and earns them the most. From what I can tell, when you supersize your soda, you get a bigger cup and more ice. That's really all it is. What do you think the gross profit percentage is on that 79-cent supersize? Of all of these businesses, the thing that they sell that is the most profitable is the supersize itself. That 79 cents extra that we're willing to pay, that costs them less than 2 cents to put it in there if it's soda. And French fries are, of course, extremely profitable. What's it cost to buy a 10-pound bag of potatoes? What do you think McDonald's gets them for? It's just astronomical. The point is, in our industry, we could do the exact same thing. We spend money to get people to come to our shop, but we also spend money to have them come back more often. And that's the things that we talked about, sending out the emails, pre-booking their appointments. There's a lot of things that you'll see under the promotions and profit planner to get people to come back. And then we can put packages together. And in our live training sessions, when I'm teaching marketing, I will put people into small groups, usually 3 or 4 or 5 people in a group. And let's say it's a class of 25. So we're broken down into round tables of 5 each. And I say, here's what you're going to do. You're going to create a package in the next 15 minutes. What parts are included? What labor are you going to be doing? What are you going to call this package? And what's it going to cost you approximately for the parts and the labor? What's your parts GP going to be? And what's your gross profit on parts or labor going to be? And they look at me like, you're kidding, right? No, 15 minutes. You're going to create a package. You're going to come up with a name for the package, what the parts are included, the labor included, and I want you to tell me why I should buy that package. And I've seen hundreds of those created over the years. The one that comes to mind that was my absolute favorite was a group that put together a package called I Can See Clearly Now. That's what they called it. I Can See Clearly Now. It was the I Can See Clearly Now package. And they would replace your headlights with, or the lamps, I should say, with the brightest possible bulbs. Honestly, when I bought my Jaguar, I know they say, why did they make a 2-seater Jag? So you could take your mechanic with you. And if your Jag's not leaking oil, it's empty. But I bought this Jaguar. I really do like it. But the first thing I did, literally, I bought the vehicle. I went to Canadian Tire and I had new lights put in. Because I'm driving through the mountains at night. I like to drive at night, and I want really good lights. And I know the difference between really poor quality of lights and really, really good ones. By the way, the guy said to me, these are pretty expensive, you know. I said, but I want them. He said, they don't last as long. I said, how long will they last? And he said, I don't know, maybe 2 years. And I thought, don't tell me they're expensive. Tell me I'm going to be safer. Don't tell me they're expensive. And by the way, it did last a year and a half, but I bought them again. Why? We're talking safety here. I mean, calculate what it's going to cost for that extra year. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, the I Can See Clearly Now package was to replace the bulbs with really good quality bulbs. The Headlight Restoration, which I think is a great service. I didn't actually realize until after I replaced the bulbs how bad the headlights were. So I got that done. You want to explain to people what you can do. And I'm sure you've seen the displays where it shows a worn headlight that's kind of worn out and weary. and a brand new one that's been done. I know a shop, by the way, they would do one of your lights and then offer to charge you for the second one. I'm not exactly keen on that strategy, but it's certainly an eye opener if you want to see it that way. But the I Can See Clearly Now package, new headlights, restoration of the headlights, wiper blades, and the really good Rain-X that you put on the windshield wipers. Anyway, the point was it allows you to see better. And they came up with the name, I Can See Clearly Now, what the price was. They knew what the parts were going to cost. They knew what the labor was going to cost. They knew what the package would sell for and what the gross profit would be on that. You have an opportunity with your staff to create packages like these. I've seen the gas miser package. I've seen the safety package, the performance package. There's lots of them. And I'm going to recommend that maybe once a week or every couple of weeks in your staff meetings, hopefully you're having staff meetings, and say, tell you what, today we're going to take 10, 15 minutes. And what I loved about doing it in our sessions is we would have in the group technicians, service advisors, owners, managers. And so we had it from everybody's perspective, the technician's perspective, the service advisor's perspective, the manager and owner's perspective for the profitability part of that. And people were amazed that, and honestly, I've never seen a group that couldn't within 15 minutes. And they'd say, come up with a name. That's the hardest part. And you know what? It really was. But every single time without fail, these people came up with the package with a really catchy name, and they were able to calculate it was going to be. The question is at your shop, you spend money to get people to come in. You want new people to come in because some stop dealing with you, 15 to 16% a year. And again, if you've never gone through the 65 ways to increase car count, there's 65, like I said. All you need to do is click on the very first part of that, and it automatically brings you to the link. It's online, so your computer has to be online to do that. And then again, if you're going to do that, copy and paste it into your calendar and when you're going to do that. Then the second thing is, what do we do to get them back more often? In your staff meeting, you can have meetings about that as well. Some of the things that we recommend is internal marketing campaigns. I've been working with a couple of our group members, taking email addresses, inputting them into MailChimp. I use MailChimp. I like MailChimp. It's free if you have less than 2,000 email addresses, and you're allowed to send 12,000 a month. So if your database of email addresses is below 2,000, you can still send 6 emails to all 2,000 people for free. And it's a great way of being in touch with your customers. We don't want to abuse it. I don't want to get too much email from somebody. I bought some bedding from a company called Casper. I like them. But the next thing you know, I get an email and an email and an email. It's like 2 emails a week. We're talking bedding here, people. And if it's oil changes, how often am I going to get that? I personally think we should send an email to our customers once a month maximum. Every 6 weeks would be kind of ideal. And then there could be reminder mailings like Phil was saying he does, which is addressed ad mail, it's called. And that's with a postage stamp on it to a specific person. The welcome letter that Phil was talking about, I appreciate that. I was in to see a new dentist. I moved not long ago. I went in to see a new dentist, and I got a thank you card from them welcoming me, which, by the way, didn't have signatures on it, which kind of cheapened it for me because I looked at the envelope. I thought, oh, that's nice. I opened it up and thought, you could have at least signed it. I think it would have been a little bit nicer. Of course, there's Demand Force, which is great for reminders going out to your customers. It's happening in the background. It's not something that you have to do all of the time. And then there's things like Mechanic Net and the shop bucks that Phil was talking about, that you send it out to the people and they'll come back hopefully sooner than they would normally have to get whatever is going to get done, and the fact that they've got that $25 to come along with it. And then when they're there at your shop, you want to increase your average invoice by doing certain things. One of my favorites is the 3 levels of oil service, and that's an opportunity not just to have a cheap oil change. Some people would like to have a reasonable price, let's use it that expression, for an oil change to seemingly compete with some of the quick lubes and other shops that are advertising cheap oil changes. But please don't misunderstand me. I'm not talking $9.95, $29.95, $39.95. I think the lower price is going to be at least $50, maybe $50 to $60, something like that. And then you can make it a good, better, best, silver, gold, platinum. And by the way, I added one thing I wanted to say here is, if you only do synthetic and you're not going to do a regular non-synthetic oil change, you could still do 3 levels. The idea is maybe level 1, the bronze, is synthetic, or you could go gold, silver, platinum, and you still have, or silver, gold, platinum, and not even have a bronze in there because silver sounds better and that's the lowest. Just for the record, the number one reason for doing this from a marketing perspective is it's a psychology with the customer. This was tested by Napa, I know, with oil changes years ago in the city of Spokane. I'm thinking early 90s. And they had an oil change sign made that had good, better, best. I think it was silver, gold, platinum. And it was 3 levels of oil change that had the price that the person would fill in because each shop might price it differently. 87% of the people wanted the one in the middle. They didn't want the cheapest one, and they didn't want the most expensive one. They wanted the one in the middle. And that marketing strategy works with many things, not just oil changes. A lot of stores will have 3 levels of an item, and the most expensive one, they know they're not going to sell a lot of, but it's there on the shelf because they don't want you to buy the cheapest one, and you think, I don't want the most expensive one. And the more expensive one makes the second one seem less expensive. And ultimately, their goal is for you to buy the one in the middle. And by the way, with that Napa program, silver, gold, platinum, the gold and platinum were the exact same gross profit. We didn't really care which one they bought. The idea was that we'd sell the one in the middle. So if you don't have 3 levels of oil service, and I do want to say that it doesn't have to be a cheap oil change, that's not my point. If you've already got a really good oil change, then maybe what you could do is add 2 other things in the package that are even better. And you can work in something to go along with that package, a tire rotation or whatever it is that you're going to add to it to increase the average invoice. Other things that we talked about already, the blue sheet, things that we're going to do to increase the average invoice could be the pizza, donut, popcorn program. You'll see that on the 65 ways to increase car count. And then, of course, the last part of that is to increase gross profit. So your goal is to create a marketing strategy for all of 2018. Again, go through this, delete what you don't want to do, add stuff that you're already doing that's not on our list, take things from below the 65 ways to increase car count, add it to the list. If there are things that you come up with that weren't on our list, could you please send them to us? This is never done. I've been working on this and working on it and working on it. One of my favorite lines actually came from George Lucas when he redid the Star Wars movies. I've never been a fan, but my son ordered it on VHS. I'm dating myself, but the new trilogy. Long story short, in our van back in the day, we bought a TV console, tiny little TV with a VHS. I'm dating myself. And it was $1,000, and it actually was the console in between the 2 driver's seats, but had a little tiny TV screen. And our kids weren't allowed to watch it when they go to and from school, but I picked them up at school that day, said, hey, buddy, look what came. And it was the Star Wars trilogy. He was so excited. I said, I'm going to break the rule today. You can watch it going home. So the movie starts at the beginning, and there's an interview. And they asked George Lucas, why did you go back 20 years later and redo this? And his answer was brilliant. He said, you never finish a movie, you abandon it. And I said, Scott, please rewind that. He said, Dad, it hasn't started yet. I said, I know, but he said something brilliant. He said, you never finish it, you abandon it. And I find that's the way it is in business sometimes, that if you stayed at work till it was all done, if you continued to do everything until it was completely done the way you wanted it, you would never finish it. So there's times you have to abandon things. So for me, I've spent well over 100 hours on this, but I can't think of everything, some of the ideas that other people come up with. So if there's things that are not on here, and you're not even in the group, you're just taking this class, please send them to us. We'll add them to the list and resend it out to you. The idea is to be creative and to make sure that every single week, or at least every single month throughout the year, planned in advance, we are going to consistently do things that are proven to work to bring in new customers, bring them back more often, get them to spend more money per visit, and to increase gross profit per visit as well, per visit. The next week, when we're back on Wednesday for the group members, you are going to be given about 10, maybe 15 minutes maximum each to go through. I will make you the presenter, and you will say, okay, at Jeff's shop, here's what we're going to do in 2018. Now, you don't have to go through every single line of it, but give us an indication of things that you're going to do at your shop next year that are, again, designed to do the 3 things. What are you going to do to bring new people in to replace the 15 to 16% that we lose? What are you going to do to get people back more often? When are you going to do that? What are you going to do to increase your average invoice? When are you going to do that? And what are you going to do to get them to buy your most expensive packages, to take the French fries and put it in with the more expensive burger that costs you more and make it a better package for you because it's got low gross profit items and high gross profit items. Oil changes are a really good example of that. Oil change is your least profitable thing, like the McDonald's, the burger is the least profitable. But add to that package higher gross profit items. A really good example of that is the quick lube business. They may do oil changes, what they say for $29 or $59 or whatever. I went to experience it. I think it was $130 for a full synthetic service. And while I was there, I was paying attention to what they were doing. They were trying to sell me on a transmission fluid flush. They were trying to sell on these other things. The average invoice in those places is above $150. And you've got some people who are only spending exactly what the sticker price was. For the record, I've heard people who are in the business say about half the people come, won't buy anything. They won't buy wiper blades. They won't buy headlights. They will not buy anything. No, I just want the oil change. So if half the people come in and spend $39 and the average invoice is $150, there's a lot of people spending a lot more than $150. So with that, again, next Wednesday, in advance, you're going to be the presenter. If you would prefer, you can send this to me when you're done. Put your company name on it, please. And again, next week, you're going to show us what your plan is to bring in new customers, bring them back more often, increase your average invoice, increase your gross profit, and when you're going to do that. With that, everybody, thank you very much. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me, kelly@kellythecoach.com, kelly@kellythecoach.com. Go back, kick butt, and successful marketing for you in 2018.